Testing, testing, testing. Oh, I guess my mic was on the whole time. Oopsies, I didn't know it was unmuted. Let me make sure my model is in an alright position. Oh, I should probably turn alerts off, that might get distracting. Alerts. Boop, boop. Hello everyone. It is good to see everyone. Thank you for joining me. I'm glad I was able to make this stream. I had a little scare this morning because I think my grandpa had a heart attack, but he's doing fine. Hello everyone. My name is Isuasai. I guess I should get into this. First of all, do you guys like my BGM? This is my yeah, what a way to start. This is my new, oh yeah, he's okay. He's joking around now. But this is my new BGM for my 2.0. I also do have a little preview for my 2.0 at the end of the stream. But I decided I might as well try it out now, and I'm very happy with it. Also, I think I got my mic fixed, so my audio should sound pretty good. Anyways, thank you everyone for coming to my little presentation. This was, of course, going to be... Can I put it a bit down for the talking part? The BGM? Yes, I can. How's that? Anyways, this was originally going to be my presentation at Offkai last year. As some people may know, didn't really go to plan. I kind of ate some Subway that day, and I don't think that's what did it. I think I was just stressed that day. But I ate some Subway, and I might have uneaten the Subway in the Subway bathroom. So I wasn't able to do the panel, unfortunately. I think I was just really nervous for it. So I don't know if I'll ever do a panel in person, because, you know, nervous stuff. But I'm finally giving it now. So you will notice some Offkai branding, some Offkai related stuff in the panel, of course. I probably also won't be reading chat too much during this, because I am going off a script, and it is structured. But I will be reading chat at the end, because there is going to be a Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions during the presentation, please save them towards the end. And save your applause, of course. I know all of you are just waiting to spam clapping emojis in chat, but please save your applause. I'm only one little ice cream here. So, might as well get started. Starting with a little bit about myself. A lot of you know me already, but just in case you don't, my name is Isuasai. I'm currently an ice cream VTuber, about to be a pizza VTuber with my 2.0 soon. Wink, 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 wink. And I've been making VTuber logos and other assets for almost 3 years at this point. It's crazy. This is a bit tangential, but I've noticed it's weird to be actually a big name in the VTuber logo community. That's just weird. Anyways, I originally got into this industry by trying to make a logo for myself. I was watching a VTuber named Asagi Ame. She graduated recently, sadly. But I saw a cute little logo in the corner of her screen, and at the time I was in the planning stages for being a VTuber myself. Just getting my design worked out, all that. And so I decided, I'm gonna need a logo. I might as well try to make one myself, and I happened to be in a graphic design class at high school in the time, and with a free Adobe subscription. So I found some other VTuber logos I liked as inspiration, and I tried my hand at making it, and this is what I came up with. It's not very good, if you couldn't tell. It's like that whole thing where it's like, make it before you can make it great. That is the the chocolate bar is actually just the apple chocolate bar emoji, just traced over. But yeah, this was baby's first logo. Yeah, my old color scheme was much more muted than it is now. I might show my old design one day. Sunny knows, but it's not pretty. No offense, Sunny. But it was a logo, and the most important thing was I had fun doing it. I really had fun doing it. I was like, okay, maybe I should try making some more of these. So I started out by just doing giveaways at first. That was how I started. And eventually I had enough giveaways to have a portfolio, so I started doing commissions. I think my first price was like $5 a logo. And at the time, what class was that? My fashion design teacher, she was so angry at me for only doing like $5 to $10 for a logo. And of course now I'm a little more expensive for a logo. But yeah, start out $5 a logo and look where we are now. Also, fun fact, Asagi Ame, the person who inspired me to make a logo originally, eventually did commission me for a logo pretty recently. So it did come full circle, and I think that's very nice. If you've been in the VTuber community for a long time, there's a good chance you've seen some of my work in the wild before, or even worked with me. I see some of you in chat who've worked with me. I've worked with many popular VTuber agencies. See, this shows you how old this presentation is, such as VShojo. Such as the talents formerly known as VShojo. All of these logos, I've made logos for the entirety of VShojo. I have them in later in the slideshow, but these ones were actually purchased by the talents. So, yeah, those ones are fun. I really like that Michi logo. That's one of my favorite logos I made. Look how cool it is. Pat myself on the back here. I've also made some generation logos for glitch stars. These ones I've made for Virus and Outbreak. Outbreak I was very happy with. This logo out here, Outbreak, I popped off with that one. Again, I give myself a lot of pats on the back here. Also, I made some logos for one of Glitch Star's talents, Leia Asimov. I made a logo for Daisy DeLine from Chroma Shift, formerly Idolien. I've also worked with hundreds of independent VTubers as well, a notable one being my Kamiyoshi, Matara Khan. I've been lucky enough to work with my Kamiyoshi multiple times. This isn't even scratching the surface of all the stuff I've made for her. I'm the creator of Glorpmo. I've got a lot of Momos in chat, and I created Glorpmo. It's my baby. I was really happy to see Glorpmo on the recent posters. But yeah, it's my little baby, my little Pookie Bear. Matara's always great to work with. And I've also worked with a lot of other independent VTubers. Saying a lot is a big understatement. So I've worked with is Nyanners. I made this little logo and this icon logo for her a while back. And another one is Casper Caccini. I don't know. Looks this little guy in the background kind of reminds me of him. I don't know. Yeah, I made this logo and I made an icon logo for him back before he debuted. And I've also made some logos for some happies, and also these are the happies I've actually designed. I started Happy Design probably like 6 months ago at this point. It's been really fun ever since. One of the best parts about it is I've been to quite a few conventions since I've started Happy Design, and it's been really cool to see people like actually wearing stuff that I've made. Like at Anime Expo, I walked by 2 people wearing the Anna Happies, and I felt like that one picture of like the guy in the corner of the room saying like, "Oh my gosh, they don't know I made those Happies they're wearing." Also, fun story about the GG Happy. This is Hyuni wearing it. Hyuni is an amazing artist, but I passed by Hyuni at Anime Expo. It was Hyuni, and she was walking with one other person. And we both like walked by each other, and we both did like a double take. My first double take was like, "Oh my gosh, they're wearing my Happy." And then I looked back and I did a double take. I was like, "Oh my gosh, is that Hyuni?" And I looked back and I was like, "Oh my gosh, Hyuni did a double take at me. That is Hyuni." And so we both did triple takes as we walked past each other, and then we just like met each other, had a conversation. But I haven't shared that. But I thought that was really funny. But yeah, working with Happies has been really fun. I think I've designed 4 Happies at this point. I did these 2, the Gigi Marin one and the Alouette one. I've made a Matara-Khan Happy, and I've made a Hyuni Happy, and I've provided my logos for a ton of Happies. So if you've been to like a convention in the past couple months, there's a really good chance you've seen a Happy with one of my logos on it. I know there's like a Narissa one with my Happy, there's a Celia one, there's ones for Mio and Fubuki's solo lives. There's a ton. I can't even probably name them all. And also around conventions, you might have seen some of my work, like Hyuni again. I made a logo that she uses on her business cards and on her boots. And I also made the logo for the incredible X3 Desco, and also her also Babbo. I made a logo for him. But yeah, there's my logo right there. I love this. She has like the little cutout up here. It's so cute. Let me get a swig of not Dr. Pepper, Coke. My throat's a little dry. I've also made quite a few fan logos for HoloLive, and now I can add that I've officially been commissioned by HoloLive. Pretty recently, Ninamai Inatis commissioned me to make a logo for her new series, In Academy, she's doing. That was really fun to work with her, and like one of my bucket list items. I like couldn't believe it when I got the email. I think I want to redo all of these logos one day, except for the ID logos. I made these in the span of like 2 days, and I can say I popped off with these ones, especially like the Ollie one. Look, that's oomph right there. But I do want to redo all of them one day. I've already kind of redid the Gigi one, because on the Gigi Happy I did a new logo. But yeah, I did all these HoloLive fan logos. Here's the Vshoujo logos. Sunny, stop plugging merch in chat. Yeah, these are the Vshoujo logos I made. I made all the main logos, and then I did icon logos. This is right when I started icon logos, and I think this was a good practice to help with my portfolio. I did these all for the anniversary, so all these were in like the span of a week too. And then here's a fraction of the logos I made. This is just like a small portion of them. I just wanted to get like a picture of a lot of my commissions just to get the scale. And I think at this point I've probably made like easily over 500 logos. This also has like other stuff like overlays, schedules, yada yada. This is just a lot of my Vision portfolios. These are all commissions. The baseline is I've been doing this for a while. So this is just giving me my, what's the word? Which one is ethos the one where it's like credibility? I think so. Yeah, I think ethos is credibility. Oh yeah, where are you, Oddly Awkward? Where are you? My script is like right here, so you might be behind that. You're somewhere. Oh yeah, there you are, right there. Yeah, I also saw Oddly Awkward had a booth at Animeans Pulse, and my logo is on the business card on the top of the booth. I should have added that to the convention section. And of course, if you haven't seen me from any of the other stuff, you're just popping in here. You've never seen this little ice cream before. I feel like there's a good chance you've seen this logo. This is the big one. This one took me like 5 minutes to make. I remember there was like a drama on Twitter where someone was comparing corporate logos and VTuber logos and saying like, oh, they're completely different things. I was like, well, what if I make them the same thing? So I spent like 5 minutes making this thing. And I posted on Twitter, and it got me like multiple brand deals to send me free stuff, like 13.8 million views. The mic I'm currently talking to you on was sent to me by ROG because of it, because I did a little logo for that. Like Height sent me a PC case, Razer sent me headphones, Corsair sent me one of my Stream Decks. So yeah, it started an entire trend on Twitter. It was kind of crazy. I don't know if that one will ever be topped in terms of like famousness and how many views that got. But yeah, okay, time to actually get into the panel. Oh my gosh. That entire part was kind of like riffing, but this is the part where I actually got to read the script. Oh no. In the 3 years I've been working in this industry, I've had a lot of people ask me all about VTuber logos. Like how to get one, is their logo good, even how I get the fonts I use. So today I will be trying to summarize the basics for all of you. From why would you want one, to how to make one yourself, or also how to find an artist to make one for you, and the best practices when commissioning one. Also, just prepare you, there will be a question and answer section at the end of the panel. So during the panel, if you're confused about anything and want clarification, or if you just want to ask me what my favorite restaurant is, please feel free to ask and I'll try to answer to the best of my ability. My favorite restaurant is Arby's, by the way. Also, a little disclaimer. This panel is mostly intended for VTubers and aspiring VTubers looking to get a logo made, but if you're just a VTuber fan, this info could still be useful. Of course, if you want to make fan art for one of your favorite VTubers or want to commission a logo for them, say you're making a Happy and you want to commission a logo for them, wink wink, wink wink, you might still learn something, so stick around. So, why should you even get a logo? I'm a VTuber, I don't need a logo. Yes, you do. You don't actually, but for the sake of this, you do need a logo. The entire point of a logo, even outside of VTubing, is recognizability and representation. There are hundreds of popular brand logos that every person in this stream could probably recognize and name at a glance. Apple, Nike, Microsoft. I'm sure just saying their names like makes the logo pop up in your head. All these brands have logos that are extremely recognizable in any situation you put them in, and it's partially what has led to the success. When you walk into a coffee shop and you see 30 different people with a MacBook, all with that big Apple slapped on the back, when next time you're buying a laptop, you might be considering getting an Apple laptop just because you saw that. There's a reason some brands will pay insane amounts of money for what might seem like a really simple design. For example, this logo from Pepsi that cost $1 million back in 2008. By the way, this is one of my favorite graphic design stories. This logo has a 27-page document by the designers explaining things like the gravitational pull of Pepsi, the Pepsi universe, and... Wait, did I read that wrong order? No, the gravitational pull of Pepsi and the Pepsi universe to pitch the logo to the company. It is a very interesting read, would recommend. It's basically just BS the whole time. It's so fun. I love it. Yeah, Peggy knows. Having a logo that's easily recognizable, simple, and versatile can go a long way in helping a business. Logos can also help with representing the brand as well. If Apple had a logo like this, you might think they make like toys or juice boxes. Their current logo does a much better job of representing what they sell. It's simple and sleek, and gives kind of a luxury feel, which is what they're trying to get across with their products. I still do like the one on the left, though. I think they should change their logo to that. Tim Wozniak, hit me up. Is that his name, Tim Wozniak? Steve Wozniak? I don't know. Wozniak. These properties also work their way into the world of VTubing. Logos are one of the best ways you, as a VTuber, can portray yourself visually at a glance. That's not you, that's me. Tim Cook, okay. Whether you use a logo on your stream overlay, or you're doing a collab with a friend and they put it on their social media post about it, having a logo that properly reflects your personality or style of content can help viewers instantly get a feel for what they may see when tuning into your stream. And having a recognizable logo can help you stand out in an ever-growing industry. Oh, that sounded good, right, guys? That sounded good. Oh, chills. That's like the thesis statement. Logos are also the best starting point to having cohesive branding. Cohesive branding is basically just having all your assets for streaming and social media match each other. It's not really needed to be a VTuber. I mean, all you really need is like a design. You can even have like a PNG and like something to stream on. But it's very nice for like leveling up your streaming game and making everything look nice and official. Chills. A good example I want to bring up for cohesive branding was the Offkai social media branding. Oh my gosh, look, it's Berrybug. Oh my gosh, it's Berrybug. Offkai's always had amazing cohesive branding. They do a good job of having similar elements throughout all their branding. See, they use their logo and everything. These little stars, even here. In this design, they have the palm trees. Similar color schemes, like the nice pink to purple gradient and the nice light blue. And just similar graphic design elements, like the black bars going across the bottom here. The similar fonts everywhere. And it makes it so anytime you saw any social media graphics, any banners around the convention, even the badge, you knew it was Offkai Expo Gen 4 just from a glance. Sorry, I got a burp. Now, how do you get a logo? The two best ways for you to get a logo are either to make one for yourself or to commission an artist to make one for you. There are pros and cons to both options. I'll be going over them now. For making your own logo, if you already have a computer or a smartphone, it's very cheap, pretty much free if you need it to be. You can gain new skills that can turn it into a career. That's how I started making logos for a living. There's a ton of helpful guides on there, online that you can find, from VTuber logos specifically to guides on any program you could think of if you're having issues with it. You can also update your logo at any time if you have a rebrand or want to change something small. And if you ever make your own assets outside of a logo, then you can update those as well. Finally, if you ever find yourself needing work for a portfolio, having logo design experience can be very useful. However, it can be very time consuming. You also might not be happy with the end result no matter what you try. Also, certain programs that are used a lot for logo making are not very beginner friendly and can be very expensive. Graphic design is also more than just making something that looks good. The way I like to think about graphic design is that no matter how good something looks, if it doesn't serve its function, it's not that good. You can have like the most beautiful logo ever made, but if you can't read it, no matter how hard you try, then it doesn't really succeed as a logo. Being able to balance these two things as a beginner can be very difficult. Another big issue is self-critical bias. You are much more critical of any work that you make yourself compared to something that someone else will make. This will also apply to stuff that you make for yourself. I've talked to a lot of other VTuber logo designers, and a common theme with a lot of us was that doing branding for yourself was much harder than doing branding for other people. One last con is decision paralysis. It can be very easy to get caught up while making a logo. You have so many ideas that you can't really decide on what to do. For commissioning an artist, for the pros, most artists have examples of past work as well as client reviews. This can help you find an artist that match any vision you have in your head, as well as verify if they're good or they're not. You can also find different artists that will have hands-on or hands-off approaches with your commission, whether you want to make sure your logo is exactly how you want it, or you'd rather trust them with making decisions for you. A seasoned graphic designer will also have much more experience, so they'll be able to look at design differently than a novice. You're also supporting an artist's livelihood. That's definitely a plus. And if you're an artist yourself, you can get ideas from their work for your own work in the future. However, oh, did I miss one? Oh, I think I just clicked one too little times. However, it can be pricey. Different artists have different prices, and especially with commercial and rush fees, the prices for a logo can get very high. For example, my current base price for a logo is around $150. That's without commercial fees and without rush fees. So yes, it can get a little expensive. The time it can take can also vary from artist to artist. So if you're on a budget and need something done in a hurry, then you might not want to commission a logo. An artist can also misinterpret your ideas or concepts. Maybe you went with a sketch style commission, which means no contact at all with the artist during the commission, and it's nothing like you thought in your head. Now you either have to use a logo that you don't really want, or commission another one. Also, if you ever need to update your logo in any way, or you want to have consistent branding, you might need to commission the same artist to make those changes. Some artists change prices frequently and have different availability, so you may run into some issues when trying to do this. Lastly, scammers are still sadly prevalent in the VTuber scene. I've heard horror stories all the time of somebody ghosting their client for a year just to deliver something that was obviously done in like 2 minutes. And if you are concerned about scammers, I will be going to some tips later on how to avoid them. So, now I'll be diving into both these options and walking through the best ways to do both of them. Starting with making your own logo. When you're making your own logo, the first thing you need is a program to make it on. The most important distinction you want to make first when looking for a program to use is if you want a raster logo or a vector logo. These terms explain how the finished logo is made and rendered. A raster image is like most images you see on your computer, which is a bunch of little tiny pixels making up the whole logo, while a vector logo uses math to display itself. Don't worry, you don't need to actually be good at math to use them. This allows it to be scaled as large or as small as you need it to be without losing any quality. See, this one at the bottom is a raster image. These two are both the exact same size. When this one is scaled up, it gets all pixelated, but because this one's a vector, oh my gosh, it's so silky smooth. I love it. Most logos are made with vectors because they do need to be scaled infinitely small or infinitely large. So you want a logo that works as an app icon that can also be blown up to be on a huge banner. Having a vector image is very helpful for that. However, the programs used to make vector images are much harder to learn and use compared to raster programs. I personally would recommend putting the work in to learn a vector program if you want to make a logo, but there's no shame if it's a little too hard and you need to use a raster program instead. The program I personally use for my logos is Adobe Illustrator. Boo! Boo! But however, I cannot really recommend it in good faith, as Adobe has a lot of really bad business practices. Like, I think they're getting sued by the US government right now because there's like exorbitant fees if you want to cancel your subscription. And also, it can be very pricey to use unless you're like a student. There's good student discounts. Like, I have a student discount, and I think I'm still paying $20 a month for my Adobe subscription. Yeah, made with AI, SMH. So I've asked some other designers for some recommendations, and the other recommendations that I've gotten have been Figma, Affinity Designer, and Inkscape. For raster programs, there's a ton of options, since most art programs you'll find are already raster based, but the ones I would recommend would be Procreate if you have an iPad, Clip Studio Paint, or Photopea. Sip of my Coca-Cola. The last thing you'll need before you make your logo is a place to find fonts. One thing to keep in mind before you pick a font, though, is the licensing for the font. Most fonts you find online aren't actually free to use commercially, so be careful to read the licensing for fonts when going on random font libraries. See, for example, this one is free for personal use, which means it isn't really free for commercial use. Alternatively, you can do what I do and just use a font library where all fonts are free for commercial use, such as Adobe fonts if you do find yourself in the Adobe subscription, you poor soul, or the GOAT, Google Fonts. Gotta say, Google Fonts, one of the best websites of all time. If you ever need a font, go to Google Fonts. I love Google Fonts, it's so much. It's so good. Another thing you can do, rather than finding a font, is you can just make a custom typeface. This is just making your own text without the use of a font. Here's 2 examples of logos I made with custom typefaces. It can be a bit harder, but can also give logos a much more personalized feel, and can go a long way to making a good logo. Now it's time for the fun part. We're going to be doing a step-by-step process of how I make one of my logos. The logo we're making today is for the amazing VTuber Mint Phantom. Look, we have the same color scheme. Okay, speaking of this Mint Phantom, my Mint Nui shipped yesterday. I'm so excited for it to get here, my little Mint plushie. Anyways, the first decision when making a logo is if you want a wordmark logo or an icon logo. They're pretty self-explanatory. A wordmark logo is a word, who would I guessed. An icon logo is an icon. This will be on the test later. I would recommend, let me actually go back here. I would recommend getting wordmark logo since as a VTuber, your name is a big part of who you are. Most names do reflect the design, reflect the personality. So I would recommend a wordmark logo, but no shame in getting an icon logo. They're very nice. They can be useful for apps if you ever want one for some reason, or like a Discord icon. I know I'm in Discords where I've made logos for the people, and they use their icon logo as the Discord icon. Very useful. The next step is to figure out what you want your logo to say. For most VTubers, this is an easy decision. Like myself, I want my logo to say "Isuasai" because that's what I go by. But a lot of VTubers do have multiple things they go by. They could have shorthands of their name or nicknames. That's one of the reasons I chose Mint Phantom, because she has a lot of nicknames that she goes by. For example, Mint Phantom, I have a lot of options to use. I could just use the word Mint. Her official logo uses Made Mint. She also uses a Japanese translation of her name and her Twitter account, but I decided to just go with Mint Phantom with her Japanese name as a little subtext. The next step is what I would consider to be the most important step, which is font choice. The font choice for your logo changes the entire feel of the logo. Since the logo is supposed to represent you, make sure to find a font that represents you, either your design or your personality. For example, if you have a very cutesy model with a bubbly personality, you might not want to go with Creepster over here. Instead, a font like Cherry Bomb 1 would be much more fitting. Also, try to keep in mind the readability of your font. While we are trying to make something... Oh wait, I skipped a part. Oh my gosh, this part's really important. If you want to find a font with a specific vibe, this is from Google Fonts. They have like a built-in vibe button. So if you want like a loud font, you click the loud button. That's really useful. Adobe Fonts has this too. And most like free font websites, like 1001 free fonts, have categories, but it's pretty easy to categorize fonts. Anyways, make your font readable. Maybe you're like a librarian VTuber, and you're nice and elegant, so you want to do this nice cursive font, but you can't read that. I can't read that. I can't read cursive. I'm not smart. I flunked 3rd grade. So instead, you might want to go with an easier to read font. For this logo, I will be using Arco Typography. This is one of my favorite fonts. Now that I'm saying this, you can probably look in my portfolio and see tons of logos using this font. It's great. I love it. It's nice and round and cute and soft and friendly. Very useful. The next step is to figure out what parts of the design you'd like to incorporate into the logo. I'm sorry all the freaky wisps, I did cover up her butt here because this was for the panel. No, you can't see her butt. For Mint's design, it's very detailed, it has a lot of aspects. For a simpler design, it might be a little hard to make a logo for, because you'll have less aspects to work with, but it's very much still possible. But for a more detailed design, it's a lot easier to make a logo. For her design specifically, I'm making use of the bows. I'm making use of all the bows around her design. I want to use this little squishy ghost guy over here. Look at this little guy, he's so cute. I'm also making use of the little chocolate drips she has on her thigh-high sock, and also the various crosses and other stripe patterns she has around her design. On this step, we can also decide the color palette of the logo, which should match the VTuber design itself. For this color palette, I would recommend using around 5 colors or less, but of course that's just a loose thing. In this case, I would count this as like 1 color, and this is like 1 color, so this uses 1, 2, 3, 4. We can count. The next part is making the logo itself. This starts with the layout of the text. If you have a name that's more than 1 word, you can either have them stacked, like on top, or horizontal, like on bottom. I would normally recommend stacked, since having a logo that's closer to a square, if that makes sense, helps with the silhouette. And it's also a lot easier to use a logo that's stacked rather than horizontal, but of course it's up to you. And if your VTuber name is just 1 big word, then most people will just use horizontal, since it's kind of awkward breaking it up every once in a while. In this case, I'm going with stacked. Next, I like to mess with the letters, so you just don't have plain text. Depending on your font, there are a lot of ways to do this, like changing the shapes of the letter. I changed this O with a little accent to this little ghosty guy. And you could also connect letters like this and this very ambiguous, mysterious logo that I totally made myself. The S and the T connect to the top. You can just add some visual interest. One thing I like doing to pretty much all of my logos is you just take the text and you shake it up a bit. You change the size of the letters, rotate them a bit. It just makes everything look very chaotic and friendly and nice. This is what we end up with after changing everything. Not too many changes. What I did here, I changed the O to the little ghost, I moved the text around a bit, made the mint bigger, and I also rounded off all the corners just to make it feel a bit softer. Then we're going to create some of the details that we chose earlier and incorporate them into the logo itself. In this case, I've already replaced the O with the squishy little ghost dude, and I've made all these other assets to use. In this case, I made her a little headband with the pointy thing, this little ghost tail, this subtext, this is her name in Japanese, and I added the little chocolate dripping. Here's a little cross, some stripes, a bow, the amazing VTuber star. If you're ever making a VTuber logo, use this star. This thing works. This thing is magic. You can just plop it around anywhere and it'll look amazing. And I also like putting dots with the VTuber star. These two work very hand in hand. And here's what we came up with. I ended up... This is probably the most important part. Wait, I skipped a part. Don't ignore that. Where was I? This is part of the logo making process where you can really make it your own logo with your own style. This is also probably the hardest part of the logo, as it takes a lot of experience to really know what you're doing. My best tip is just to mess around until you think it looks good. That's always worked for me, of course. But it might be a lot harder for you if you've never done this before. It can also be helpful to go and try to find other logos from other artists that you like to take inspiration from. Just make sure you don't take too much inspiration and end up copying the work. Oh, funny story about me creating the star. I remember one time I was in the VDesigners server, and I was talking about how I made the VTuber star, and everyone laughed at me because I made it in such an inefficient way. If you're doing an Illustrator, just use pucker and bloat. That's an early Q&A there. Yeah, the pucker and bloat tool works wonders for making this star. Anyways, here's what we ended up with. There's also some little tips I can show off here for your own logo. Firstly, I incorporated the stripes and the crosses on our design within the text itself. I also incorporated some VTuber stars. I like putting stuff within the text because it gives the logo a lot more depth rather than just having flat colors on the text. I also use these little stars and dots to pizzazz up the logo. See, they just make everything nice. They add a little splash of color. Very nice. I like putting subtext in a box. It makes it feel very nice and formal. And also, I use the little headband, the pointy ghost hat thing, and the tail to add a nice silhouette to the logo to make it nice and unique. One thing I'd recommend when you make a logo is take 5 minutes and make some extra variations. These are the ones I normally include with all my logo commissions. The 4 main ones. There's the main logo, there's one with a white outline, and 2 monocolor ones. Sometimes you'll be using your logo, and say you want to use this logo on a mint background. If you use it there, then the text, you will not be able to see it. So a version with a white background can help it be used in a myriad of situations. And there's some situations where you can only work with a certain amount of colors. Say you're making a t-shirt, and you can only use one color. In this case, a monocolor logo can come in very handy. Also, they're just super easy to make. Like, legitimately no more than 5 minutes to make all these versions once you have the original logo. So there's no reason to not make them. If all of that was a bit too much, and you would decide you would rather commission someone instead, have no fear, it is time to talk about that. First, you need to find an artist to commission. There are many ways to do this. The first way is just to look something on social media for artist advertising commissions. In this case, I looked up VTuber logo commissions, and I found this amazing artist, Primoroxis CH. He looks pretty cool, you might want to commission him. He's really good at making cyberpunk stuff if you want a cyberpunk logo. Let me get another sip of my Coca-Cola. But always make sure to check the account to make sure it's not a bot or a scammer. And when you're checking to see if they're legit, I would say look at all their work. Scammers will often take the work from a bunch of different people, not just like one person. So make sure to look at their style, make sure everything's consistent. But there are other ways to look for artists that I'd recommend more that have better ways to check if they're legit. The second method I would like to go over, which is my recommended method, my first recommended method, is to use a commission website such as VGen, Skeb, Fiverr, or Etsy. VGen is a marketplace specifically for VTuber commissions. It's what I personally use for my commissions. It has tons of great tools for both clients and artists, like built-in work queues, deadline enforcement, a chat system, filters for different types of commissions when searching, an area where you can store your character reference sheets and details for easy commissioning, and tons of other helpful features. I'm not even scratching the surface of everything it has. I've been using it for 2 years, almost 3 years at this point, and it's one of the best things that has been introduced to the VTuber community, in my opinion. There are still some bad actors on the website though, so I would make sure to check people before you commission them as well. Some ways to do this are through their portfolio. Every VGen user has a portfolio page where you can see the past commissions that have been completed through VGen. This little symbol means it is a commission that has been verified that has been completed through VGen. As well as customer reviews, so you can see if an artist is credible or not. 2 people have given me 4-star reviews. I'm still angry about that. It ruined my perfect 5 stars. The next site I recommend is Skeb. Skeb is a Japanese website. It works very differently than other commission websites. It works on a no-contact basis. So you put in all your commission details, and the artist will decide if they want to accept the commission or not. If they do, then you don't get any updates at all until the commission is delivered. You also can't ask for changes once it's completed. The trade-off for the lack of communication is the pricing. You can find artists on Skeb willing to charge much less for extremely high-quality work. So if you're on a budget, Skeb is a great place to go. It can be a bit confusing to use for first-time users, as it works a lot differently than other commission sites, but it's very addicting to use once you know how. Of course, like all commission websites, make sure to look over an artist before commissioning them. You can find more than logos on Skeb, like you can find character designers, you can find normal artists, you can find music designers. Like this BGM cost me $5 on Skeb. It's amazing. Skeb does have some useful statistics for artists, going over how often an artist completes commissions, as well as how long you can expect them to take, and a gallery with all their finished commissions. Your Skeb account is also linked to your Twitter account. A cool thing that you can do with this is see commissions from people you follow. There are also some other options like Fiverr and Etsy. Both of these options are fine. Fiverr is more similar to VGen, while Etsy has a lot of pre-made assets. But a lot of the people that have taken commissions for VTuber logos on these websites have since then moved to VGen. So I would really recommend just using VGen if you already are comfortable with using these platforms. One other way to find an artist, this is my most recommended way to find artists for anything VTuber related, is to just go through VTubers that you know and see who makes their stuff. One con of this is you can't really find like up and coming artists, but this can help you find artists that are credible because, you know, the people that you look up to are using them. And it's also, let me make sure I read the script for this part. If you see a VTuber with a really cool logo or overlay, check to see if they have a credits page and check the artist out. I use this for almost everything I commission because you can see instantly the quality of their work and see if it's a VTuber that you trust. By association, you can assume that the artist is trustworthy. Of course, still just double check to be sure. Of course, you can also always ask the VTuber how it was to work with this person. Say like someone made a really cool logo for them, but the person who made the logo for them ghosted them for a year and took so long and didn't listen to any of their feedback, then you might not want to work with them even if the logo looks good. Also, this is Lucy's credits page. Hi, Lucy. Another thing to keep in mind is rush fees and commercial fees. Most artists... Actually, wait. Sorry. Once you've decided on artist for a logo, there's quite a few things you still need to remember. The thing I see most confusion and discourse over online related to VTuber commissions is commercial use. This is a very loose term, as different artists have different interpretations. Most artists will have what they consider to be commercial use in their terms of service, so make sure to read that before commissioning, but some might not. For most artists, commercial use will cover streaming and content, but some will charge more if you want to use it for streaming content. For me personally, commercial fees only apply if you want to use it on merchandise, but of course it varies artist to artist. Make sure to check before you commission. Another thing to keep in mind is rush fees. A lot of VTuber artists will have queues of many commissioners wanting to get commissions for them, so they'll have a long line of people waiting for a logo, waiting for art. So rush fees are a good way to get past that queue if you want something done soon. Of course, this can add on quite a bit of price. For example, here are my rush fees. Most of the time these do apply. Sometimes they don't. I don't know why I'm saying this. But always make sure with an artist that your deadline is acceptable to work with for them. Communication is key. When you're filling out the commission request, remember to be as detailed as you can be. If you have an exact vision in your head for the perfect logo, tell them every single detail. If you think your artist needs to know every piece of your in-depth lore, tell them that. If you want the exact hex codes from your design on your logo, tell them that. On the other hand, if you have no idea what you want for the logo, that's also fine. Just make sure to let your artist know, and they may be willing to spitball some ideas with you. Once your artist has accepted your commission and is starting work on it, please, 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 I cannot understate this enough, be responsive as you can to their updates. Of course, if you have like extenuating circumstances where you can't respond, such as an emergency, you're traveling, it's totally fine to just wait a bit, but you would not believe how many clients I've had that have waited like a week to respond to my updates and throw my entire schedule out of whack. It can also be hard for an artist to finish a commission by a certain deadline if their client is unresponsive. If you do have extenuating circumstances, just please let your artist know that you might be a bit before you can respond to their commissions. A lot of certain websites will also have punishments for people who have commissions going over the deadline. Like currently, I cannot open my commissions because I have a client who I've been waiting on responses for weeks. I think today I'm actually just going to send over the stuff and let them know that I can edit it later because they're just not responding. This is a bit of a tangent, but I don't get how people will set like a deadline and then just not respond to anything. I don't know. Anyways, once you finish your commission from your artist, also make sure to leave a review if possible through whatever service you use. One thing I like to mention about reviews is to only leave a 4-star review or less if you really feel like you need to. For a lot of sites like Etsy and VGen, anything below a perfect 5 stars can hinder a artist a lot in terms of discoverability, stuff like that. I and many other artists have had experiences with people who have a mindset of like, oh, nothing's perfect, so nothing could be 5 stars, so I'm giving you 4 stars, which is very frustrating when that happens. Lastly, make sure to credit them when you use it. This isn't just for logos, this goes for all art you use as a VTuber. Credit your artists. Without artists, VTubers would not exist. So please credit your artists. There have been so many times where I see someone streaming on Twitch, it's like, oh my gosh, I made a logo for them. Oh my gosh, they're using the logo. Oh, it's not in the credits. So yeah, please credit your artist. That's pretty much it for the panel. So it's time for the question and answer. Please ask me questions. Ask me questions. I want questions. Okay, let's see if we get any. The Hank Hill of commissioners. I sell propane and propane accessories. You have 2-star views among 300 works. Okay, good. Yeah, I know. I'm pretty sure on VGen it's like for every 100 reviews, 1 4-star review will like bring it down. So I think I have like I'm probably back at 5 stars now since I only have 2 4-star reviews. I think at this point I'm over 300 reviews total. What dimensions do you recommend the logos to be? As big as possible, to be honest. Like I remember there have been some times where I've sent people over their logo commissions like while they're streaming and they open it on stream and it's just like huge. But making it as big as possible is good, because going back to the raster versus vector, you can make it in vector, but most times when you export it, you're exporting it as a raster file, so you still want it to be as large as possible. I probably should start doing this, but I don't really pay attention to my dimensions. I think I work on a 2000 by 2000 pixel grid when I do most of my logos, and I export it at like 150 dpi. But yeah, make it big, make it big. Is making logos like doing animation? Not really. How do I explain this? Kind of, and also kind of not at the same time. For animation, there's different types of animation. Most of it is either frame by frame or keyframe animation. For example, I do keyframe animation, but the animation you're seeing on screen right now is more frame by frame. Frame by frame is just exactly as it sounds, making the frames one by one. But keyframe is, I would consider, more similar to making logos. They're completely different mediums. That's like asking if like pottery is different from working as a mechanic. But yeah, they're different. They're different. Hi Colin, we're doing Q&A. How's the panel going? Good, we're at the end. We're doing the Q&A. What's my favorite part of designing a logo? I gotta say, finishing the logo is one, not because like I hate working on them, but because it's always nice to like have the client happy. But honestly, consistently, I think my favorite part of like doing this as a job is like seeing the people that are commissioning me and looking at like new designs, because I get to see a lot of VTuber designs as part of this job, and it's really cool just like seeing how creative people are and seeing like how people choose to reflect themselves and portray themselves online. So yeah, I think that's it, like getting new commissioners and clients and seeing like all their designs. I think that's my favorite part. Thanks for the question. Yeah, better to make it big and shrink it down later. You do lose details when you blow an image up. Like this. Helpful. Give me a second. Like this helpful graphic I made. Yep. When you blow it up, it gets all pixelated. For anyone that missed it, I guess this is a good run back of it. Okay, well, I gotta make sure I don't go too far too. Can't be showing off my preview early. Okay, gotta get to the ISU petting page. There we go. Did someone ask about the best way to make a request for logo designer, info to send stuff? Yes, I did cover that in the panel already. I can go over it again though. Actually, no, I didn't go over the exact information you should send them. I would say just send them everything that you would like to keep in mind. Some things to look for is if you have a certain font choice or like font style you would like, I would definitely name that. I'm just trying to think of the things that are most helpful to me. If you want a specific color scheme, the thing that's most helpful for me is to send pictures of other logos that you like, or other logos that you just like the vibe of, that you would like your logo to look like. That's, I think, is the most helpful thing that a client can do for me. What do you think about the logos that come out more simplistic than the other ones I made? There's sometimes where I feel bad whenever I finish a logo and it's like more simple than other logo I've made. What do I think about that? I think overall my style is very simplistic. A lot of people have much more detailed logos than I have. But I think my simplicity is just part of my style, and it's part of what I like. I really like lineless designs, I really like flat colors, and if that doesn't make my logos look a bit more simple, then I guess that's okay. I'm happy with how my designs look. Will this be posted on YouTube? Yeah, I think I'm gonna commission somebody to edit this down, and I'm gonna post it on YouTube. So yes, it will. What kind of logos would you be interested in doing in the future? I'm fond of old Art Deco posters, for example. I have been thinking about branching into traditional logo design, mostly because I want to make more money. Like I was saying earlier, traditional logo design can be very lucrative because, I mean, people will pay so much money for those types of things. So like, you can do like a normal logo design, and all you have to do is make like, other than making logo, I gotta like make a brief to try to make the customer buy your logo. And then they'll send you like $4,000 for a logo that takes you like 5 minutes to do. So I really want to get into like traditional logo design, but I don't think anything will ever rival Vtuber logo design because it's just so fun to work with. Like I browse the logo design subreddits every once in a while, and like they look cool, but like I don't know, I love making Vtuber logos and Vtuber assets because it's so fun. Do you have a good source for finding fonts that may not come with the program? I went over that earlier. My biggest recommendation is Google Fonts. Google Fonts is an amazing program. Other font libraries that can work is Adobe Fonts if you have an Adobe subscription, but I wouldn't recommend getting an Adobe subscription. And also, if you're just making it for yourself, then any old font library like 1001 Free Fonts will work. DaFont. A website that I like using every once in a while is Creative Fabrica. It's a website where you can individually purchase fonts for use, but they have tons of sales all the time. You can get fonts for like $1. Yuta One is also a good resource for Japanese fonts. Yeah, a lot of good fonts. Would it be hard to design a logo in the same essence as those black metal logos? Those things are... Honestly, I was about to say I don't consider those logos, but they are logos. I consider those to be more icon logos than wordmark logos. Because a big part of wordmark logos is making sure the logo is readable, and that's not a focus in those logos. Those black metal logos, they're insane. But yeah, those would be a lot harder to make. Because, actually, yeah, they would be a lot harder to make, but they're very unique, I'll say that much. Okay, any other questions? Would you suggest looking at title treatments for games and movies to reference when working on Vtuber logos versus corporate logos? Like logos for movies and logos for games? I mean, anything can be good inspiration. I have a logo that was inspired by a game logo I can show up here. When I made my fan logo for Giga here, her entire concept is that she's like a video game final boss. So I took a lot of inspiration for the Doom logo for this, with sort of the slanted fonts at the end, very square lettering. So yeah, I think taking inspiration from logos all over the place is very good to sort of mix up your designs. Because if you only take inspiration, like say you have like one picture of VTuber logos and you only take inspirations from that, I guess your style could get very repetitive. So trying to get inspiration from a myriad of sources is very good. When you go about making a logo, do you ever need a mood board? Sometimes. Not often though. For me personally, I work a lot better with just like concrete things rather than vibe-based things. Like every once in a while a client will give me a mood board to work with when I'm making a logo, and I'm like, this isn't very helpful to me. Like, I would much rather just work with, like, most of the times when I'm making a logo, rather than having a mood board of, like, moods, I'll have, like, an inspiration board, where I'll copy and paste in other logos that I want to take inspiration from. Like, I remember when I was making the Ian Academy logo, I found some other logos for other like VTuber events that I liked. Like I remember I used the Doki Bird birthday. I think it was Doki Bird's birthday logo made by Emily. That was a big inspiration for that one. So no, I don't often use mood boards in the traditional sense, but I will make like inspiration boards of other graphic design. If you have a client with a long name, how would one go about making it more rectangular, or would you rather just go towards sticking with logo mark? I'm trying to think of clients with long names. Most of the time, when I have a client with a long name, it's the best way to make it more rectangular is just with the details you add around it. Let me try to find a good example here. Of course, if they have like a really long name and it's 2 words, then just stack it. But I'm pretty sure I should have a good example here. Let's see. There's one I'm thinking of, Providence. Actually, I think that might have been actually after I made this slideshow. But yeah, there are ones around here you can kind of see. But just adding details above and below to just make the overall silhouette closer to a rectangle, I would always say is the best practice. How many tabs? I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Favorite logo I've made recently? Recently, In Academy, just because of the scope of it, being able to work with HoloLive. Yeah, definitely In Academy. Favorite logo I've ever made. This wasn't a question that was asked, but favorite logo I've ever made has been the MataraCon's Minto Matara Summer Special. Just because that was like my first big like corporate logo. It was my first time officially making a logo for my Kamiyoshi. Also got to work with Mint. That was really fun. She was really nice. I think she was kind of shy. And also just the memories of that time. It was great. Let's see. As for breaking into regular logos, do you think the current trends towards more simple, kind of bland logos will turn around eventually? No, I do not think they will. I personally am okay with more simplistic logos because, like I said, I like a simpler style. But the reason for that is because of the amount of uses a logo has these days. Nowadays, logos need to be used on apps. They need to be able to be seen on smartphones. They need to be able to be seen everywhere. Infinitely small and infinitely large. So having a simple logo is much better for that. The big example everyone comes up with is the Cracker Barrel logo. I don't like the new Cracker Barrel logo for different reasons than other people don't like it. But the old one is not very good if you want to have it like on a phone or anything small. So I don't think the simplicity trend is going to go out of style. But overall, I think the minimalism trend in overall graphic design is going down a bit. Like I know like now there's more of like a future techno vibe going on with like liquid glass everywhere. So I do think minimalism is kind of on a downturn, but simplicity itself I don't think is going down anytime soon. Should you consider having different designs for logos at different sizes, like small, medium, or large? Maybe if you want to have a favicon icon, or want people to recognize it at several distances. Like having different levels of detail at different sizes? That could be a good idea. I haven't thought about that. Yeah, I could definitely see that being a good idea. Maybe you have like an icon logo where you have a really detailed maximalistic version for when it's used in large sizes. But you have a really simple one at small sizes. Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that. Good idea! Normal brand logos are very minimalist, while VTuber logos are extra. How do you think this difference came to be? Well, VTuber logos aren't used in as many contexts as normal logos. Like, you're probably not going to see it as an app icon or anything. So already you don't really have as much need for minimalism. And also, since VTuber logos are meant to represent a lot more than traditional brand logos, there's a lot more you need to fit in there. Also, since they're meant to represent personality, it's good for them to be, in my opinion, it's good for them to be loud and out there. Because if you have all the space to work with, it's not going to be small. You might as well use it. Tabs, gotta make use of that RAM, of course. What do you consider your most unorthodox / different looking logo? My most unorthodox / different looking logo. Probably the Michi Mochibi one I made a while ago. Just because I've never really worked with a font like this. This one right here. I'm very happy with it. I love this one I made. It still uses like the hallmarks of VTuber logo design, but I think just because the font is very unlike anything I've ever used before, I would say this is probably the most out there one. You've made mine in both stacked and horizontal, so it kind of feels like a personal preference. Yes. Yeah, you can also do that. You can have stacked and horizontal. Like on the awkward, she asked me for both stacked and horizontal, so you can use either context. Is that all the questions? That might be. Is that everything? Damn, you got them all? Yes. I think so. Of course, if you have any questions, always feel free to DM me on Twitter. I do get quite a bit of DMs for commissions, so might get lost a bit, but if you ever have any questions, feel free to ask me. I'm always happy to help. So now we can do... yeah, it was the 2.0 preview was originally my full model, but it was just because like I wanted to have something special for people who came in person. So we got my face card. Oh my gosh, look, it's my face card. Yeah, for 2.0. There's still a bit of stuff that needs to be figured out with the rigging, but look, my hair color changes so much. Oh my gosh. Oh, sorry, I'm getting cutting off my head. Where's the right tab? There you go. Yeah, here's my new face card. Like I said, it's a pizza design. I'm very happy with the design. Of course, this BGM is for the new design. I have a ton of stuff. I have like a new stinger. I have a new starting soon screen. I'm very excited for it. It should be very soon, since I do want to get it out pretty soon. I just need to save up for the rigging now. Last questions. Would you ever do a presentation on other stream assets? Maybe. The thing is, I have a lot more to say about logos than any other thing, so I don't think a full presentation would be enough, but I've been thinking about trying to get more into making videos or like shorts, so those might be a better context for stuff like other assets like overlays and schedules. But yeah, I don't think I'll ever do like a whole presentation on other stuff, because I don't think I have as much to say on those things, because I make those a lot less often. Did you see the HPO logo recently that went viral for being off? No, I did not. Wait, wrong one. This one. I might need to go check it out now, though. Where am I? Oh, my BGM's gone too. Wait, give me a sec. I need to get this figured out. You know, we'll just stay here. No, I have not seen HBO logo, but I'll look it up after the stream. Yes, no more star pupils. I'm sad about losing that. Guys, I don't know if you've seen this, but fun fact about my eyes. Look, they sparkle when I blink. Are you looking? Stop staring at me with those big old eyes. But yes, I'm very excited to get my 2.0 design up and running. What's the future for Isu? It's right in front of you. You know, how about this? Let me get my let me actually get my 2.0 design. And let me just flash it on the screen for a second. How about that? You guys like that? Actually, no. Let me get my 2.0 Pipsqueak design. I'll flash that on the screen. I got like a really simple model from Strawberry. You see like a millisecond of that. I don't want to shoot too much. Okay, you ready? Oh! Gotcha. Okay. Oh! That's all you get to see. Oh! Oh! Okay. Pizza! Any particular goals or VTubers you want to work with in the future? Of course, I want to work with HoloLive more. That's been super fun to work with particular VTubers. I want to work with Porcelain Maid. He's really cool. I need to make a fan logo for him. Yeah, I've been thinking about. I thought about that the other day. I was like, man, I need to make a fan logo for him. He's so cool. I mean, we've already worked with a ton of VTubers that have been on my bucket list. So, I mean, yeah, I like working with any VTuber. When's the next stream? I want to stream Overwatch soon. Wait, why'd the foodie not work? I thought I set that back up. Is that not working? I thought I set my Twitch integrated throwing system back up. Did it disconnect? Huh? Should be working. What do you mean that's all we get? This was a how long is the stream? Hour actually, hour long stream. That wasn't that long. Yeah, scammed. I'm sorry. This should be working. Wow, I spent like an hour trying to get it to work yesterday. Now it's not working. Can I activate it in Twitch integrated throwing system? How about this? There you go. There's your foodies. Let's do a lot of them. There you go. Yes, I guess that'll be the panel for today. Thank you everyone for coming. This was fun to work on. I gotta say, I did this entire thing. I made this whole thing like not 2 hours, like the day before I left for the convention. So it was a bit of a rush job when I initially made it. There are 450 foodie downloads? Oh my gosh. Also, thank you for doing that again, Rombley. I think that was like the last thing on my art tag, and I still look at it every once in a while. It's so cute. I still need to 3D print it myself. But yeah, thank you everyone for coming. I'm gonna go get some food now. I do want to stream more, so I appreciate everyone for coming out. You guys were all very nice. I probably will see if I can get this edited into a video if anyone missed it. Of course, you can also just go back and watch the VOD too. But thanks everyone for coming. You know what? I'll use my new stinger just for you guys. Oh, look at that! It's so cool. It's so cool. Oh my gosh! Wow. Okay. Bye. Actually, let me raid into someone. That's probably a better idea. Let's raid. I'm good at streaming. I can raid. Oh, look at me. I'm so talented. Who's live? Who's live? Following. Oh, Barry's live. Barry is playing Not a Human. No, I'm not a human. It is a bit of a scary game, so if you're a bit squeamish, you might want to watch out. But Barry Bug, very cool Bug VTuber. Her design is so cool, man. Oh, I love her design. I've tried to make a logo for her like 3 times, but I just can't figure it out for some reason. Anyways, she has such a cool design. She's such a cool person. She's gonna be part of the new VShojo Gen that sadly didn't happen. But she's now part of Beasties. I made the logo for Beasties. Yeah, check Barry out. She's so cool. Send her a follow. Thanks everyone for coming again. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Oh yeah, she also has a concert coming up. Oh yeah, she's part of the Iron Mouse thing. Bye.